What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today, we are doing a massive tier list of all the games that I have played in 2023. Basically, in the last few months, I just went completely nuts, made a giant list of games that I wanted to get played that were released that year, and just went ham playing them, whether they were physical or whether they were virtual plays. Shout out to all those people out there who had the patience to teach me some of these games online. You were a big freaking help. Also, I think what I'm gonna do is put an overlay of the game that I'm discussing, how many times I've played that game, and then how I played that game, whether virtual or physical. I think these are important bits of information to have, especially how many times I've played, because I know a popular thing to do online is to essentially dismiss a person's opinion if they've only played like once or twice. So that way, if I gave your favorite game a D, you can just be like, oh, he doesn't know any better. He's only played the game once.
Warning. The following is based on one man's opinion and is not indicative of some otherworldly objective measurement of game quality.
Don't let one man hating on a game you enjoy ruin your love of the game. Okay, so let's get started. There is no order to this list, although this seems like the perfect game to start off on. We have Great Western Trail. If you don't know what Great Western Trail is, you of course are living under a rock, because this is the third implementation. Played all three now. New Zealand is my least favorite. I think Argentina is the best one. I do like a few things about New Zealand. I like that it's a bit more approachable for newer players. I felt things were a little more streamlined, and I enjoyed the process of deck building way more in this version than I did in the previous two versions. Great Western Trail itself is like A or S tier. Argentina would be like, I think S tier. But Great Western Trail, New Zealand, I mean, it's good because it's Great Western Trail, basically. So Moon, if you're not familiar with it, is a card-driven game where you are attracting as many tourists as possible to your destination on the moon to score as many victory points as possible. It was incredibly light. I felt like it overstayed its welcome. It was, I think it took an hour and a half to play the game at 4 players, and for the limited amount of decisions that I had to make during the game, it didn't sit right. So I'm going to give this one a solid D, which I know will upset some people because I know some people are gushing about this game. I apologize. So after us is a deck building game with a bit of resource management where you're building all these like fun combos and you're putting together what amounts to a gang of monkeys. I say deck building, but the deck building is, you don't actually know what you're putting into your deck, which is actually the most interesting portion of the game. I found this game to be pretty interesting. I liked organizing the monkeys in an optimal way and getting as much stuff as I can. It sort of reminded me of Furnace in that way, although I liked Furnace a lot more. This one's pretty good though. I would give it a solid C. It's a solid C. It's a middle of the road game, primarily because it didn't really have a lot of player interaction, aside from there were some moments when you could look at another person's tableau and essentially use their monkeys and mimic their actions. But aside from that, yeah, just an average game. Next we have Voidfall. Voidfall, if you haven't seen the review, go check it out. Obviously there's a lot more opinions on it in that review, as well as Kim's opinion. Voidfall is an easy S tier. I don't need to go into much detail as to why. Again, you can just watch that review. I love it. I think it's a tour de force. You can see all the passion that the designers put into this game. You know, the years of development it probably took, and even though I had no idea what was going on like the first half of my playthrough, I instantly knew I liked it. I instantly knew that this was like, okay, this is my kind of game. Yeah, Voidfall, easy S tier. Next we have Darwin's Journey. Darwin's Journey is a worker placement game where you follow through the footsteps of Darwin himself. And you go along this journey into the Galapagos Island, putting out your workers to do stuff like explore and gather specimens. The theme itself, fairly pasted on, I suppose. It's the most Euro of Euro games. The one thing that stands out to me is your ability to upgrade your workers, so you can see a sort of progression in how strong your workers get throughout the game, which I always enjoy. And it's one of those games with a ton of combos and constant dopamine hits. I think Kim might enjoy it. I played some Tabletop Simulator, so hopefully we can get a physical copy of this game. So yeah, I think I'd give this probably a B tier. I think we're gonna go with a B. It's a good game, but it's not reinventing the wheel. So next we have Faraway. Faraway is a game where everybody's taking turns simultaneously and you're sort of exploring. You have a hand of 3 cards and then you set one of them down to indicate where you've gone along your path. It's puzzly set collection with an open draft. This is, I'd say, is another one of those like solid C games. It's one of those games where you probably might forget about it in a week, but the artwork is friggin' beautiful. And it's one of the reasons I probably give it a C instead of a D. Next, we have Dune Imperium Uprising. Obviously, you're familiar with Dune Imperium. Everybody is. This is a re-implementation. I don't want to spend much time on this. I would give the original Dune itself S tier, no doubt about it. But because it's a re-implementation, I'm just going to give it an A tier, even though I do think this is a better version of the base game. But again, it's one of those things I mentioned in the previous top 10 video for the year. I don't like the idea of complimenting the person who's sitting on top of the shoulder of a giant. You know, you get what I'm saying? But solid game. If you're buying it from scratch, definitely get this one. Oh, okay, next we have Evacuation. Evacuation is a game made by one of Kim and I's favorite designers. We love underwater cities and all his other games. So this is one I am really want to try, and I'm hoping we can get a physical copy of this eventually. So we're gonna put this in the excited to try section for sure. Same with Last Light. Last Light I also haven't played. I know it's made by, one of the guys from the Dice Tower. I'm hoping it's good. It's been explained as a sort of like Twilight Imperium, but in an hour. We'll see about that. I'm looking forward to it. Next, we have Disney's Lorcana, which is pretty much the hot new game that everybody seems to be talking about that I didn't really particularly enjoy. Combat was cool. It sort of reminded me of Hearthstone. You can either attack an individual or like a unit, or you can go on a quest. But the interesting thing is that when you go on a quest, your unit gets tapped, and that's when essentially you are vulnerable to being attacked. But the one problem I have with it is that for a game that's so predicated on the IP of Disney, a lot of the characters didn't feel thematically connected to the mechanics, for me anyway. In addition, you could have like multiple copies of the same name character, which it just feels lame. And you also don't build decks around specific movies, which is also lame. For me, it's a D. The one thing that bothers me a little is I wasn't able to mess with people in their turn. You know, I want to fiddle with whatever it is they're doing. I'll put a wrench in their friggin' machine. This game, I don't know. It just seemed a little too passive. I don't know why people like it so much. Next, we have Point City, card drafting engine building game. With filler games, you're going to notice that I'm not a big fan of filler games. There's only a limited room in my collection for these types of games. And so you better be doing something interesting and unique. This game is not doing that. It felt like more of the same. Like I would much rather play Marvel Remix or Forest Shuffle. I think they're significantly better games that scratch the same itch for me. This is an easy F tier. This is an easy F. Sorry, Point City. Expeditions. Expeditions we have also done a review of. If you haven't seen it, definitely give it a shot. It is one of those games that just kind of let us down, not because it was necessarily a bad game, but because we had high hopes for Jamie Stegmaier. We like almost all his games, but this game was just, it was middling. It was middling. It wasn't particularly interesting. It didn't really do anything new or exciting. The adventure or exploration part of it felt half-baked. It didn't seem to have any connection to Scythe, which was also disappointing. Even though Jamie kind of hyped it up as this sort of Scythe spiritual successor, it wasn't very good. It's an okay game. It's C tier. It's just middle of the road. Next, we have Raising Robots, which is a very cute tableau and engine building game that sees you building robots in your own factory. What you're going to do on your turn is you select 2 cards that you want to perform for your actions for the round, and then randomly 2 energy cards get turned up, and that's how much points you're able to assign to those actions. It's an interesting game. Turns are simultaneous, so everything felt very snappy and quick. Game was very enjoyable, and I think Kim liked it more than Wingspan. There is some similarities in that you sort of activate a row, and then all the robots on that row get activated as well, just like Wingspan. I liked it sort of on par with Wingspan. I think it was a really solid game. So that's, yeah. Now, that's a B. That's an easy B game. Okay, Europa. This is based on one of my favorite video games of all time. I've put hundreds of hours into this video game. I do think the game has done a pretty good job of hitting a lot of the marks that Europa hits, but this just went off on like a lead balloon. We played online. I only played it once. It was like 4 players I think we played with, and I think it was half the day just between teaching and whatnot. And shout out to the person who taught me this game. You are a saint, a patient saint. But before the first stage, there's no interaction at all. And it was just so incredibly boring. And even after the first stage, there just didn't feel like there was much to it. We also didn't play with Austria, and I kept getting told that like, oh, it's much better if you play with Austria. There's a lot more interaction. But the game just felt, for what it is, for how long you play it, the game better be damn good. And like if this game took 2 hours, I'd probably rate it much higher. I probably would rate it higher, but it didn't. It took 6. And so it's a solid F. It's a solid F game. It's a shame because I think this is going to be one of those games that's going to be some people's favorite game. So don't freaking freak out on me. It sucked for me, but I have no doubt that some people are going to love it. Actually, if you like these types of games, I would recommend Thief. I think it does similar things in a slightly shorter period of time, but significantly better. And then next up is Lucuna. Lucuna is weird. It's like you take a bunch of wooden flowers, you put them in a friggin' tube and mix it up and dump it. And what's interesting is the setup is sort of part of the game, because what you're going to do is once they're dumped, you take your player piece, you put them in between the two flowers that you want of the same color, and then you get them near the end of the round. And then you also get whatever you're close to as well. The game encourages you to play really close attention to what your opponents are doing. So if I know that my opponent has a bunch of orange, they're not going to go for orange. So I'm safer to go and try to collect other different types of colors. It was fun. It was a fun game. And I'm calling it now. I think tube games are the way of the future. So I'm going to give this one a B. Yes, I'm going to give this one a B. It was solid. Next, we have Force Shuffle, a fun, fairly light, multi-use card tableau builder. That despite its weight, I still felt like I was engaged. I feel like I was making interesting decisions. I really wish I could have played this with Kim. I think it's something she would have enjoyed, despite the fact that both her and I really like heavier games. But once in a while, we like to play lighter games. And I think I better get a hold of this copy, because I think I've played it like friggin' 6 times. So if I get a physical copy, I could show it to her, and I think she'll enjoy it. There was just a lot of fun combos in this game. So I think for a lighter game, this may shock people, I'm going to give it an A. I think it was one of the better light games to come out this season. Okay, next we have Distilled. Distilled also made it in our top 10 games of the year, primarily because I think Kim likes it a lot more than me, but I really enjoyed it as well. It is a game where you're running a distillery, and you have a sort of market phase where you go and you purchase various upgrades to make your distillery stronger, and then you go to the distillation process, which is most of the fun of the game. We're taking a bunch of cards and doing a sort of push your luck to see what you end up with, whether it's your signature recipe or something else. For a Euro game, it was super thematic, and I give it credit for that. I do really enjoy it, and like Kim said in the review of the video that we did, or the game we did, I think this is going to be some people's like major cup of tea, where you have those like 2 overlapping interests between board games and alcohol production, and when those 2 meet, you get Distilled. Yeah, it's a great game, solid B. So in Knarr, you and your Viking boys explore and settle from faraway lands while recruiting new Vikings to help you do all that stuff. It's not a particular thematic game, since at its heart it's just kind of set collection. But I did find myself enjoying it for the first couple of plays, but then by about the 4th play on Board Game Arena, I just lost complete interest. What started as a solid B game to me, I think ended up becoming a D game. Maybe I have to give it a few more plays, but yeah, it didn't hit as well as it did when I started it. Next was Age of Innovation, of course, based on Terra Mystica. It is Terra Mystica, I guess 1.5 or 1.6. I can, standing on the shoulders of giants. You know what I do? What do I do with this thing? I enjoyed it. Terra Mystica is like a solid S or 8. No, I would say it's a solid S game, but I don't think Age of Innovation is better. I like the addition of the books. I think they're pretty cool, but I'm going to give it a B. Same with Great Western Trail. It's decent for what it is. I think some people will prefer it, and I think the only reason you'll ever play this game is if you already played the crap out of Terra Mystica and you're looking for something I was going to say looking for something new, but you're looking for something that's kind of the same, but with like a bit of extra stuff. Next, we have Isle of Trains, a card-based engine building game with multi-use cards, which I'm always a sucker for, where you're just racing to fulfill contracts and deliver passengers. But the one cool thing that I did really like about this game was when you deliver passengers, you can deliver other people's passengers. So there's a good amount of interaction in this game that you typically wouldn't see in these types of games. So that part was pretty fun. I'm looking forward to giving this one a few more plays on Board Game Arena. Now, I wish I played a little quicker. I think this B tier list is getting overwhelmed here. I'm going to give it a B. It's a B. It's a solid B. Okay, next is Undaunted Battle of Britain. This is great. Like, if you haven't played the Undaunted series, you have to play it. It's like a war game, but it's light. It's easy to play. It's thematic. You're invested in every turn. God, I wish Kim liked it. I wish she did, because it's like, I would give this an S tier, but I will likely never own the physical copy of this game. Thankfully, my buddy owns it, and he was able to give me a shot at it. it's so good. Undaunted is so good. And the plane element, like, it feels like you're in a dogfight. Like, the way the planes maneuver, it's like very cool. And it's like you have to, when you're turning, it actually feels like you're turning on a plane instead of just like flipping around on a dime. Reminiscent of like the X-Wing miniature game, if you've ever played that. It's such a good game. I wish Kim played it. So, solid S. Next we have Kutna Hora, city building Euro game that I'm pretty psyched to play. A lot of people I know sort of been discussing it, so I'm hoping it's good, but I haven't played it yet. So that's one that's gonna have to go down here at the excited try section. So next we have Art Society. Art Society, a relatively simple tile laying game, bidding element, where you're bidding on art that you're going to place into your gallery, and then once you have it and you've won the bid, you get to place them on your gallery wall, and it's a tile laying game. You've seen them before, but I did really enjoy it. I played this online on Tabletopia a couple of times. I hope to play some more. I think in terms of tile laying games, this might be among one of my favorites. I think it might replace a lot of some of the tile laying games I have. So I think A tier. Oh, okay, so next is Everdell Farshore. Everdell Farshore, it was really good. Another one of these reimplementation games. I thought in terms of just the base game, it is probably better than Everdell if you're just trying to get into it, but it can't beat Everdell with a bunch of expansions. So for that reason, if you've never played either one before, I'd give this a solid A, but I have, so it's going to be a B. And again, the B tier is getting overwhelmed. So next we have Stonemaier Games Apiary. Much like Expeditions, I had high hopes again for another Stonemaier product, and it just kind of felt blah, I guess. It was easy to jump into. You know, on your turn, you place a worker on an action spot, or you either retrieve all your workers, and I like that the worker bees sort of had their own strengths, which I'm always a sucker for worker placement games. And I've said this a few times before, I like a tight player experience, whereas this one felt a little loose, like I could kind of do anything and it didn't really matter. I could see this game hitting with a lot of people, but it sadly just didn't hit for me. And so, oh, what a missed opportunity. I was like, I'm going to give this a B because it has B's in it, but it's unfortunately a C. And look at that. It's going to sit right beside Expeditions. Sorry, Stonemaier Games. We love all your other games. But this year, it's been a low year, I guess, for me. Next we have Earth. Earth, everybody was talking about Earth like a few months back. It's a really solid card tableau engine builder. It has a lot of replayability because it has like this giant stack of cards. But the more I play the game on Board Game Arena, the less interested I am in continuing to play that game. Oh man, this is a game that I put on our top 10 list. I was like, this is like a solid game. And it's been only 2 days. I played a couple more matches on Board Game Arena, and now it feels like I've gone from a B to a solid C. It's still really good. I enjoy it, but I'm starting to wonder if I'll ever be playing it again. I don't know. Solid C game though, and you should definitely try it out because for a lot of people, it's gonna be like an A or a B, or maybe even an S. Oh, so next we have the Fox Experiment, which fittingly is kind of like Earth, and that I've played it a couple more times since recording the top 10 video, and it's sort of dropping off for me. If you're not familiar with the Fox Experiment, you're breeding foxes. At the beginning of your turn, you're sort of doing this sort of draft where you're picking the mummy fox and the daddy fox, and then you smash them together. And you're basically getting their genes all mixed up together and rolling a bunch of dice and trying to put them all together. It's a cute game. And I do like the gimmick of naming your foxes. I think this will go over well with a lot of families. For myself, it's sort of losing its luster. And I don't know if this will be a game that a lot of people will be talking about a year from now, or maybe even a few months from now. Let's cut it short. It's a C. It's a C now. I'm putting it on a C. Kim likes it way more than I do. Okay, so next is RoboQuest Arena, deck building arena game where you control a little cool robot and you're sort of powering them up and getting new upgrades, and then you send them out into the arena to battle other freaking robots. The cool thing is that you can die as much as you want because you just sort of respawn and keep fighting. It's sort of like the board game equivalent of like Quake or Doom Deathmatch. I have to be honest, there is a part of me that thinks that I'm thinking A. It feels like I'm over-evaluating this game because I feel so starved for arena combat games. Guys, I love WizWar. WizWar is one of my favorite games, and I feel like arena combat games do not get a lot of love in the board game world. So publishers, give me more. Give me more, please. Yes, okay, Sail. I had a buddy who was teaching me games online, and he was like, you gotta play Sail, you're gonna love it. And I kept telling him, I was like, I don't like trick-taking games, and I don't play a lot of cooperative games. He's like, this is different. It didn't feel different at all. It felt pretty much the same as those other games, you know, with the gimmick that you can't communicate. And I figured, like, if I'm going to play a game like this, I'll probably just play The Crew or even The Fox in the Forest. Yeah, this is, I'm sorry, buddy. I gotta give it an F. Don't make me play this game again, please. Thank you. Thank you for teaching me those games. The White Castle. So the White Castle is a dice placement game that sees players sort of building up feudal Japan, and you're building up your clan and sending out farmers and warriors and sending courtesans to the palace. It's a cool game, super easy to teach, and it has a frighteningly tight structure to it. And then it's like 9 turns. You have 9 freaking turns. And for me, I love that tension. And that's, I gotta say, that might be one of the reasons I would put it. No, that's one of the reasons I put it in S tier. I love how tight the game is, and this has become, as I said in the top 10 video, one of my primary go-to 3-player games that play in like an hour. Fantastic game, definitely worth checking out. Okay, next is Fit to Print. Fit to Print, you're essentially building a newspaper using tiles. So on your turn, you will reach to the center, grab the tile, flip it over your desk, and then decide if you want to keep it or discard it. It's actually kind of reminds me of Galaxy Trucker in that sense. It's fairly tense given how light the game was. I found it was pretty satisfying, you know, building your own paper, but not enough to really feel entirely engaging past the second play. We decided ultimately not to play this game again. But I think it's a C. I think it's a C game. Yeah, it's for sure a C game. Okay, Ring Circus. I haven't played this game, but I am excited to try it. We like the White Castle, and people keep talking about this publisher, so I'm sure Ring Circus is good too. So send us a copy. No, I'm just kidding. Nobody will send us anything. Our channel's super small. But I'm looking forward to giving it a try. Next, we have Nucleum. Nucleum, somewhat heavy Euro game where you're trying to gain victory points through building networks and powering up other buildings. People kept telling me it was like, oh, it's a cross between Barrage and Brass. It didn't feel like that, and I freaking like those games. But I did enjoy Nucleum. It's all about like sequencing actions and building towards those middle and long-term achievements. What's nice is that I did feel like I was being rewarded for what I hope were smart decisions, which is always good in a game. And even after that one game, I could even though there was parts when I wasn't sure what I was doing, I could feel the tension, and that was good too. So I give Nucleum a solid B. It's a B. Okay, up next is Evenfall. Evenfall, we have a review of this, much like some of these other games, and it's also in our top 10. So if you checked either of those videos out, and if you haven't, do so now. Well, not now, we'll wait till the end of this video and then go watch it. Give me more view hours. But Evenfall is really good. It's a tableau builder where it employs a variety of different other mechanics, but seemingly they all seem to work together pretty well in Evenfall. And I think that's why I like it so much. You know, it has that worker placement element, it has that area control element, and yet they're simple enough that they feel well blended into the core mechanic of the game, which is building up that tableau and getting your cards out on the board. Lots of interesting combos. I love the art in this game. I would give this, an A. This is a solid A game. Oh, okay. So up next is Scholars. Scholars, like, we love Paladins, and we've played a bunch of his games. Wayfarers is a great game, so we're excited to try this one. Barcelona, tile laying game where everything you do seems to score points, and you don't really care about the actions you're taking or even the fact that you're getting points sometimes. Nothing felt new. Nothing felt interesting. You know, we played. It might have been the fact that we played 4 players. It might have been the fact that we played it virtually, and playing tile laying games virtually never is that appealing. But this one just fell flat. It just, F. Sorry, I didn't like it that much. Legacy of Wu. So Legacy of Wu, I was pretty excited to try because me and Kim are pretty big fans of Hadrian's Wall. But this one, I played on Tabletopia. It's a solo player experience, which I don't do very often. I never do. I enjoyed the first play and then just got bored by my second play, unfortunately. It feels like a deck builder at first. But then after a while, you see it's mostly just like resource management, and it just got a little boring, and it just kind of felt a little repetitive after a while, you know? It's D. I think there are going to be people who are going to enjoy this game, but I am not one of them. Sorry. Marvel Zombies. I will never understand the popularity of Zombicide, and I know this makes me sound like a snooty miniature game player, but I just don't get like playing with all this cheap plastic and just chucking dice when it's not a very good game. There are games that are miniature games that are infinitely better. than Zombicide, and that play in around the same period of time. I played Zombicide, I played the original Zombicide, and I played Black Plague. Black Plague was supposed to be like the superior one. Black Plague is better than Zombicide, and I think Marvel Zombies is certainly way better than the first edition of Zombicide, but the bystander mechanic is cool, I guess. But all in all, this is an F. This is an F. So next is Leaf, a tile laying game with yet more set collection. You want to get the most acorns as possible, so on your turn you play a leaf card and then take the top leaf of the same shape and you place that leaf on the table to try to connect it to the other leaves or something. I don't know. You get a bunch of bonuses and who cares? I like a lot of these games that are sitting in this tier that I'm about to put it in. There's nothing special about this game, at least to me. And while it's certainly not a bad game, it's not a game that I'm going to be remembering even in 5 minutes from now. I'm gonna give it a D because it's not bad. Oh, Sky Team. Me and Kim have not played this. I want to play it, even though Kim is not a cooperative gamer and I'm not much of a cooperative gamer. This does look pretty fun. I do like the idea of trying to land a plane together. There was this poll online that like asked men like what percentage of men believe they could land a plane, and if I'm not mistaken, it was like 80% or something really high like that. But anyway, I could definitely land a plane. Next is Star Wars, a deck building game. This was pretty good, and that's saying something coming from somebody who doesn't care about Star Wars at all. So I can imagine if you loved Star Wars, this would be like an easy S tier game for you. The use of the Force, the way they employ it is sort of like this tug-of-war system where you play cards to pull the Force to your side, which allows you to in turn play more powerful cards. Oh, and I also love the faction-only cards that appear in the market. Players can either purchase, or if it's the opponent, they can attack it. It was neat. It was an interesting touch. But aside from that, you're mostly looking at a sort of run-of-the-mill deck builder game, but I did really like it. And like I said, I don't like Star Wars, so, that's saying something. It's solid A. Okay, Stationfall. So in Stationfall, it's a hit and roll game where you have your major character and you have your minor character that you essentially keep hidden throughout the game until you decide to reveal them. And each character has its own objectives that score victory points. And at some point in the game, the station starts crashing towards Earth and everything gets set on fire and people start harming each other, and you're trying to guess who your friends are, and you're trying to guess who your enemies are, and you're all going to die, and you're all going to laugh, and you're going to have a good time. And this is basically the board game version of the video game Among Us, which is hella fun. Kim hasn't played this yet. I don't think she'll enjoy it. She doesn't like these types of games, but this is S tier quality. This and like a couple other games released this year truly felt different to me. And that's saying something. When you've been playing a long time and your collection gets really big, at some point you become a little jaded sometimes, and every game starts feeling the same. But Stationfall felt unique, and I love it for that. So I hope to get a copy of this, the physical copy of this game, sometime soon. All right, so now we have an Reina Knizia game, Zoo, which I haven't played, but I know Kim loves Reina Knizia, so there's a good chance we're going to play this game eventually. So I'm going to put that in the excited to try section because it's a given. So Steamed Up is a game that Kim demanded we play. She was like, she saw it on the shelf of our buddy's house. And she was like, I love dim sum. Oh, dim sum. I want to play this game. Oh, it's so cute. We played it, and it was like just another boring set collection game. There were legit moments in the game where I had to pause and ask myself, like, is this it? Like, what are we doing here? What's the purpose? What is the meaning of this? I want to go home. I just kept thinking, like, there's got to be something more to this, but there's not. It's pretty freaking boring, pretty freaking unexciting and unoriginal. It's cute. It's cute to look at, especially if you have the super deluxe version. I don't know. I have F tier. I get definitely an F tier game. Steamed Up, more like steaming pile of crap. Am I right? Yeah, you get me. You got me. No, you don't understand. Oh, that's not a hat. So if you don't know, if you're familiar with it, it's a party game, primarily a memory-based party game. I have the memory of a goldfish, so I did not have fun. We played this at a board game cafe, and I wasn't alone in not having fun. We played this at a board game cafe, and when I asked at the end of the game what everybody thought of the game, everybody, like, in unison said meh. And that, to me, was far more funny and engaging and awesome than the actual game itself. This is an easy F game. My F tier is getting too big. It's getting a little too big. So up next is Terraforming Mars, the dice game. If you want to strip down a lighter version of Terraforming Mars, just play Ares Expedition. Jacob, man, it's time to move on. Move on from this property. It's done. Give up already. You don't need to keep producing games that are based on this property. I'm kidding around. I didn't like this one very much. It felt like there was way too much luck. And it just felt like a lot of randomness. I started questioning, like, who is this game for? Like, it was like too much randomness to appeal to anybody who plays Terraforming Mars, and too many like little symbols and various complexities to appeal to someone new to the hobby, which kind of feels like what this game I thought was intended for. The game just felt repetitive, and I just halfway through our third playthrough, and I was like, yeah, no more. We're done here. I didn't hate it. So, I mean, I don't want to give it an F. So I'm going to give it a D. So up next is Thunder Road Vendetta, a super dumb, super silly car racing game where you're essentially racing around and you'll never finish the race though, because you just end up getting blown up and blowing other people up, and you'll have a good time the entire time. It's sort of like Mario Kart, and it also employs that mechanic where the road continually gets built as you're playing. I don't know if you've ever played Kemble's Cascade, but it has that same mechanic. Or Super Motherload also does something similar. It's fun. It's cool. It's fun. I think I'm rating this game a little higher than maybe what it deserves, because I've been playing a lot of Euros, and I'm kind of like an American-style gamer at heart, but it was a lot of fun. Although I will say what keeps it from being an S tier is the fact that I own Gaslands, and Gaslands plays in almost the same amount of time, and it is far more interesting, far more engaging, far more strategic, and a hell of a lot more fun. And you get to build your own cars, cool little guns on them and stuff. Yeah, forget this game. Okay, let's put it, no, I won't put it in F tier. I'll keep it in the A tier. But yeah, go play Gaslands. So Wild Tiled West, another tile laying game that I played. This one I played physically. Didn't do much to set itself apart from a lot of the other tile laying games I've played. The way the tiles interlocked isn't particularly interesting, and the decisions a lot of times kind of felt a little obvious, and I never really felt invested on my turn. Maybe I'm being hard on it because it comes from the same designer that did Dune and Clank, which are two games I really freaking love. But all in all, solid D game. Oh, and next is The Witcher. The Witcher Old World. I played this on Tabletop Simulator, so I didn't play like the super advanced copy or anything. I have no idea why all the content creators on YouTube were gushing over this game. If you look at Board Game Geek and you go to the video section, there's like hundreds and hundreds of freaking videos for this game. And every video is just filled with people just going insane over it. And I don't know why. I don't know how. It's your typical sort of adventure game, and that's fine, but nothing about the game felt very interesting or engaging. I did like that movement-based mechanism where the more you move, the less powerful the actions you can do on your turn become. But the locations that you're moving to are kind of fairly lackluster. A lot of them felt sort of repetitive. I was usually just kind of paying gold to raise one stat or another, and then I didn't really care. The combat system was mildly interesting, but not enough to carry a fairly mid game. I really do hope that all the money that was spent on content creators to hype the living hell out of this game was worth it. But for me, solid C game. World of Wonders, another mediocre tiling. Nothing good about it, nothing bad about it, but it doesn't deserve to be in the C, so it's going to be in the D. Some people might like this game. For me, I think I own like 2 tile laying games, so it's a very, very tight spot in my collection. And yeah, this ain't doing it. Finally, we have Hegemony. We're ending on a high note. Yes. Wow, what a brilliant game. If you're not familiar with it, it's a card-driven game where players are playing different roles within the society, whether it's working class, middle class, state, or capitalist. And, everybody's sort of working together or working against each other to get ahead. And it's so freaking good. It's an easy S tier. Because like a good chunk of these games on the S tier, it's doing something different. The game just feels freaking different. And that's amazing. That's an amazing accomplishment in this day and age. It's a brilliant game, and it's one of those things that I advise everybody to try, sort of like a Twilight Imperium experience, where even if it's not a game for you and your group, give it a shot. Just give it a shot, just to say that you've played it, because it's a blast. I am invested in every turn I take. Yeah, solid game to end on. And that's it. All in all, pretty decent year. Kind of felt a little lackluster there now when I'm putting it all in review and rank ordering things. There's some solid games that came out of this year. So despite all the games that were just like re-implementations and tile-laying games and trick-taking games, there were some solid, innovative games as well. So I think this year was at very least decent. So I hope you enjoyed this tier ranking list. This was very exhaustive. And again, I want to give a special shout out to all the people online, whether it's Tabletop Simulator, Tabletopia, Board Game Arena, at least on Discord, that helped me learn these games in a very short period of time. You guys are awesome. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next one. Peace.